This is a story from a very long time ago. In a certain city, there lived a man named Amanat. He was a grain merchant, and his shop was located in a large market in the middle of the city. He sold wheat, rice, jaggery, sugar, corn, and pulses. Due to his honesty, pleasant manners, and reasonable prices, people from far and wide came to his shop to buy goods. Two young boys also worked in his shop. One was named Ehsan and the other Maksud. They were both around the same age, about 12 years old. These boys came from poor families, and both their fathers had passed away. They lived in the same neighborhood as Amanat, who was aware of their family conditions, so he hired them to work in his shop. Whatever they earned, they would give to their mothers, who would use it to run their households. Both boys worked diligently and tirelessly to assist Amanat, and he was very pleased with their hard work and honesty. One afternoon, it was extremely hot, and the entire market was deserted because of the heat. People were resting in their homes. Ehsan and Maksud had finished their lunch and were sitting in a corner of the shop. Amanat was also present in the shop, so the boys were whispering to each other. They respected Amanat greatly and always tried to ensure that their words and actions did not cause him any discomfort. Among the two boys, Ehsan was more intelligent and sharp. He had a habit of thinking deeply about every matter, which made Amanat like him a lot. He took a great interest in the shop's affairs and would often give Amanat advice on how to run it better. His advice was always so good that Amanat would gladly implement it. Following Ehsan's advice, Amanat had a large wooden two-wheeled handcart made. Customers who bought large quantities of goods had their items loaded onto this cart, and Ehsan and Maksud would deliver the goods to wherever the customer wanted them to go. This service made things much easier for the customers, eliminating their worry about how to carry the goods themselves. Amanat did not charge his customers a single penny for the service. Since Ehsan and Maksud did this work together, Amanat increased their monthly wages by 5 dirhams as a reward for their hard work. On that hot day, there was no work to do since no customers were in sight due to the heat, and the market was deserted. Amanat thought he could make a quick trip home and return before evening. He filled a bag with the gold coins and dirhams he had and placed it in his pocket. Just as he was about to leave, a tall man appeared at the shop's door. The man had a thick beard and mustache and had a cloth wrapped around his head. Seeing the man enter the shop, Amanat sat back down and looked at him. The man's clothes were so expensive that Amanat thought he must be a very wealthy person. When the man came inside, Amanat said, "How can I help you?" Seeing the man, Ehsan and Maksud also stood up and came closer, understanding that this rich man had come to buy grain and that they would have to weigh and pack the goods for him. The man said, "My name is Gohar the merchant. I live in Sultanpur, where I also have a grain shop. This year, we had very little rain in Sultanpur, which resulted in a poor grain harvest. That's why I had to come all the way here. Someone told me that you are an honest man, your goods are excellent, and your prices are reasonable. I need a large quantity of grain. Will you be able to provide it?" Amanat was very pleased to hear such praise. He invited Gohar the merchant to sit on a chair and said, "Thank God, I have plenty of all kinds of grain. Just tell me what you need." Gohar the merchant said, "I have brought 6 camels with me. Just imagine how much grain I would need." Amanat was astonished upon hearing this. He leaned forward and looked outside the shop. Indeed, there were 6 camels standing outside, their ropes held by black slaves. He said, "Please tell me which items you need, and I will have them prepared for you." Gohar the merchant began listing the items he needed, and Amanat wrote them down. Ehsan and Maksud swiftly weighed all the items using the large scales and placed them outside the shop, where Gohar the merchant's slaves loaded them onto the camels. During this time, Amanat began calculating the total cost of the goods. He wrote down the details of all the items along with their prices. The total came to 5,000 gold coins. Goher the merchant took out 5 bags, each containing 1,000 gold coins, and handed them to Amanat. Amanat emptied one of the bags onto the counter and asked Maksud to sit nearby and count the coins. He himself opened the second bag and began counting the coins in it. Suddenly, by mistake, Maksud's hand hit the pile of coins, causing a few to fall to the ground. This happened unintentionally, and Maksud looked embarrassed. Ehsan, who was standing nearby, quickly began picking up the coins and placing them back on the counter. Suddenly, Amanat noticed something that shocked him. He couldn't believe his eyes. When Ehsan was picking up the coins, he secretly slipped one coin into his pocket. Ehsan was unaware that Amanat was watching him. Amanat trusted Ehsan greatly and considered him a good boy. Seeing this act caused him deep distress, but he didn't say a word to Ehsan at that moment and pretended as if he hadn't noticed anything. He decided that he would talk to Ehsan about it after Goher the merchant had left. Stealing was a bad thing, and Amanat decided that as a result of this act, he would no longer keep Ehsan in his shop and would dismiss him from his job. A little while later, after they had counted all the coins in the 5 bags, Amanat noticed that Ehsan was no longer in the shop. He thought that perhaps Ehsan had gone to hide the coin somewhere. Once again, Amanat felt saddened by Ehsan's actions. He had always considered him a good and honest boy, but today, Ehsan had stolen a coin and shattered his trust. Amanat's shop was almost empty, as most of the goods had been loaded onto the camels. The 4 slaves were sweating profusely from the hard work. Amanat sent Maksud to the market to quickly fetch some refreshing sherbet for them. The 4 slaves, having finished their work, sat down in a corner. Maksud soon returned with cool, flavorful sherbet and served it to everyone in clay cups. While they were drinking the sherbet, Amanat noticed Ehsan approaching from a distance. Seeing Ehsan reminded Amanat of the incident when Ehsan secretly pocketed a gold coin. This thought made Amanat feel sad again. He cared for both boys like his own children, and Ehsan's theft had deeply hurt him. Suddenly, Amanat saw that Ehsan was not alone. He was accompanied by a group of 6 soldiers. In no time, they all reached the shop. As soon as they entered, Ehsan said to the soldiers, "This is the man I told Daroga Sahib about." 2 soldiers immediately seized Goher the merchant. Amanat was very disturbed by this situation. He said angrily, "Ehsan, what is this rudeness? This is a respectable merchant. I cannot tolerate such behavior towards him." Ehsan respectfully replied, "Master, you will understand everything soon." Seeing the soldiers, the 4 slaves stood up in fear. Maksud, too, was standing in a corner, terrified by the sight of so many soldiers and the swords hanging from their scabbards. Meanwhile, Goher the merchant turned red with anger. He glared at Ehsan and said furiously, "Boy, you don't know me. I will not let you go. I will take revenge for this humiliation." Ehsan, however, did not flinch. He said, "Sir, your deceit has been uncovered. You tried to deceive my master by giving him fake gold coins in exchange for genuine goods." Hearing this, Amanat quickly took out a coin from the bag Goher the merchant had given and rubbed it on the ground. He was astonished to see that the gold-like color came off, revealing a brass metal underneath. He tested several more coins, and they were all fake. Seeing this, Goher the merchant panicked. He tried to escape from the soldiers' grip but failed. The soldiers instructed the slaves to unload all the goods from the camels and return them to the shop. They arrested Goher the merchant and his slaves, taking them away along with the bags of fake gold coins as evidence to present before the judge. A crowd of people gathered around, asking various questions upon witnessing the commotion. Amanat explained the incident to them. He was very pleased that he had been saved from a major deception. When the crowd thinned out, he lovingly sat Ehsan down beside him and said, "Ehsan, When I saw you hide a gold coin in your pocket, I was deeply saddened by your apparent theft. Now I realize that you weren't a thief and that everything you did was for my benefit." Eson smiled and said, "Thank God my innocence has been proven." When Maksud accidentally knocked the coins to the ground, I heard a clink sound. I knew that only brass or bronze coins make such a sound when they fall. Real gold coins have a different, duller sound, more like a thud. When I heard the clinking sound, I suspected something was wrong. I secretly took a coin outside and scratched it on the ground. When the gold color wore off and brass was revealed, I knew that these were fake coins. I immediately ran to the chief constable and told him everything. He praised me and sent the soldiers with me to catch the swindler. Amanat said, "Eson, I am grateful to you. Your intelligence saved me from a significant loss. Had that cunning merchant succeeded, I would have been ruined." Maksud, who was standing nearby and listening to their conversation, was astonished and happy. He was proud that his friend was so smart. Amanat was very pleased with Eson and regretted doubting him unjustly. In his joy, he gave both boys 10 dirhams each and said, "Next week, there's a fair. Spend this money there, enjoy yourselves, and eat whatever you like." Both boys were thrilled. The next day, the city's chief constable visited Amanat's shop and immediately asked for Eson. Amanat called Eson over, and the constable gently patted his head, saying, "You have accomplished a great deed. The criminal has been presented in court, and the judge has summoned you both to understand the details of the incident." Though Eson was just a boy, hearing the judge's name made him nervous. But Amanat reassured him, saying, "Don't worry, I will be with you." Amanat closed his shop and, along with the two boys, went to the judge's court with the constable. Goher the merchant stood in the dock with his head bowed. Soon, the trial began. Amanat detailed the incident first, followed by Eson, who recounted the entire story. Hearing his account, the judge and everyone present admired his intelligence. The crime was proven, and Goher the merchant was sentenced to 10 years in prison and 100 lashes. The judge then turned to Eson and said, "Eson, I am very impressed with your intelligence. With proper education and training, you could grow up to be a great and capable person serving our nation. I know you come from a poor family, which has forced you into labor at a young age. In recognition of your deed, I have decided that the government will provide you with a scholarship of 200 dirhams monthly for 5 years. I also instruct your master, Amanat, to ensure you receive a good education. You can work at his shop in your free time, and he will continue to pay you for it." Hearing this, Eson did not look particularly happy, which the judge noticed. "Why aren't you happy, boy?" the judge asked. Eson candidly replied, "I am happy, but not entirely." "Why is that?" the judge inquired. "My friend Maksud deserves this reward too. If he hadn't accidentally knocked the coins down, I wouldn't have heard the sound and realized they were fake. It was because of him that the swindler's trick was exposed." Everyone in the court was pleased with Eson's loyalty and selflessness. The judge smiled and said, "Well done, boy. You have spoken well and remembered your friend. Therefore, we have decided that your friend Maksud will receive the same scholarship of 200 dirhams per month for 5 years. Amanat will also be responsible for his education. This court is adjourned." As everyone began to leave, Maksud hugged Eson with tears in his eyes. Amanat also embraced Eson. From that day on, the boys' lives changed for the better. They attended a local school from morning till afternoon and worked at Amanat's shop afterward. Their mothers were delighted because the scholarships alleviated their poverty, and they also received wages for working at the shop. Their mothers were equally happy that their children were getting an education. Amanat was very happy too. He decided that when Eson and Maksud grew up, he would help them start their own grain businesses. And he did just that. The boys saved a considerable amount of money, and after a few years, Amanat set up 2 shops for them next to his own. One shop belonged to Esan and the other to Maksud. They had learned the trade by observing Amanat and were as honest and polite as he was. Their education also greatly helped them run their businesses, leading them to prosper quickly.